The great meeting hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of languages. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant watched from the guest viewing area as representatives from across the galaxy debated humanity's future. The massive space station served as neutral ground for the Galactic Council, where species from 100 worlds came to make decisions that affected billions of lives. Lisa adjusted her Blue Earth Defense Corps uniform and checked her communicator. The device showed 3 missed calls from Admiral Patterson back on Earth. She ignored them for now. Whatever Earth Command wanted to tell her could wait until after this meeting ended. In the main chamber below, Ambassador Zixtal of the Vrex Dominion stood at the central podium. His scaled green skin gleamed under the bright lights as he gestured with 4 arms toward the holographic display floating above the assembly. The display showed combat footage from various human military operations over the past decade. Honored delegates, Zixtal's voice carried clearly through the translation system. We have reviewed extensive data on human combat capabilities. While humans show admirable determination and strategic thinking, they lack the physical speed necessary for modern warfare. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled aliens. Lisa noticed how many of them nodded their various heads, tentacles, and sensory organs in synchronized approval. She had seen this before. Aliens always thought they understood humans after watching a few battle recordings. The reptilian Kreth delegate, General Skarthek, rose from his seat. His massive frame cast shadows across nearby representatives as he spoke. The Vrex assessment is correct. We have observed human soldiers in combat. They move like creatures trapped in thick liquid. Their reaction times are measured in full seconds, not the milliseconds required for effective military operations. More agreement from the crowd. Lisa watched Captain Jake Morrison, her tactical officer, shift uncomfortably in the seat beside her. Jake had served with her for 3 years and knew better than most what humans could do when properly motivated. His weathered face showed the strain of listening to aliens dismiss their entire species as militarily worthless. May I present specific data? General Skarthek continued, activating his own holographic display. Combat statistics filled the air between the delegates. Average Kreth warrior reaction time 0.1 seconds. Average Vrex soldier response 0.08 seconds. Average human response time 0.7 seconds. Nearly 10 times slower than the galactic standard. Sergeant. Amy Stone leaned forward in her chair behind Lisa and Jake. Amy had been Lisa's security chief for 2 years and had little patience for theoretical discussions. Her hand rested casually on her sidearm, not from any threat but from habit. Amy always felt better when she could feel her weapon's familiar weight. The aquatic depth swimmer Admiral Kessrin spoke next, her voice creating harmonic undertones that the translation system struggled to process. The humans request full military alliance status, yet their own data confirms their limitations. They fight long campaigns well, but rapid strike operations require speed they simply do not possess. Lisa smiled slightly. She had read every report these aliens referenced. The humans had provided complete combat data as part of their alliance application, holding nothing back. It was typical human honesty, and typically the aliens had missed the most important details while focusing on simple numbers. Commander Troy Baker entered the viewing area and took a seat near Lisa's team. Troy worked for Earth Special Operations Command and rarely appeared at diplomatic functions. His presence meant something significant was about to happen. He caught Lisa's eye and nodded once, saying nothing. Below in the main chamber, the ethereal representative floated near the ceiling in a shimmering energy field. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. We have reviewed human tactical doctrine. They prefer overwhelming force applied gradually over time. This approach worked well against their own species during their primitive conflicts. But modern galactic warfare demands instant decisive action. Dr. Kate Williams, the xenobiologist assigned to Lisa's diplomatic team, took notes on her tablet while listening to the alien speakers. Kate had spent 5 years studying alien military psychology and understood how different species approach combat. She occasionally glanced at Lisa with expressions that suggested she wanted to say something, but was waiting for the right moment. General Thokvar of the militant horde finally stood to address the assembly. His species had conquered 12 star systems through pure aggressive force, and other aliens respected their military expertise. When Thokvar spoke, the entire chamber fell silent. Humans lumber through battles like wounded animals, he declared, his voice echoing off the chamber walls. They rely on planning and coordination because they cannot match the speed of true warriors. They fire their weapons slowly, move their bodies slowly, and think slowly. In rapid combat situations, they would be eliminated before they could even identify their enemies. The chamber erupted in agreement. Aliens chittered, roared, and harmonized their approval of Thokvar's assessment. Lisa watched the display with growing amusement. These beings controlled advanced technology, commanded vast fleets, and ruled entire star systems, yet they understood combat about as well as children playing with toy soldiers. Jake leaned over to whisper in Lisa's ear. "Should we tell them they're missing the point entirely?" "Not yet," Lisa whispered back. "Let them finish explaining how superior they are." Ambassador Zixtal called for order and addressed the assembly once more. The Vrex Dominion recommends declining the human application for military alliance membership. Humans may serve valuable roles in logistics, medical support, and long-term strategic planning, but they lack the fundamental speed required for combat operations. The vote was called. Lisa watched as representatives from 47 different species voted to reject humanity's military alliance application. Only 3 delegates abstained and none voted in favor. The humans were officially considered too slow for galactic military service. As the session ended and aliens began filing out of the chamber, Commander Baker approached Lisa's group. His expression was carefully neutral, but Lisa caught the slight smile at the corner of his mouth. "Interesting meeting," he said quietly. "Very educational," Lisa replied. "Did you learn anything useful, Commander?" "I learned that our new allies have a lot to discover about human capabilities," Troy said. "Admiral Kesserin wants to speak with you privately. Something about a demonstration." Lisa stood and straightened her uniform. Around them, aliens continued their conversations about human limitations and the wisdom of keeping Earth's military forces in support roles only. None of them noticed the satisfied expressions on the human faces. "A demonstration sounds interesting," Lisa said. "I hope they're prepared to learn something new." Admiral Kesserin's private meeting room overlooked the main docking bay of Nexus Prime. Through the transparent aluminum windows, Lisa could see dozens of ships from across the galaxy. Sleek Vrex destroyers hung next to bulky Kreth assault vessels, while delicate ethereal light cruisers drifted like glowing butterflies among the heavier warships. The depth swimmer, Admiral, floated in a tank of specialized water that allowed her to breathe and speak simultaneously. Her blue-green skin shifted colors as she spoke, creating patterns that Lisa's cultural briefings had taught her indicated serious intent. "Lieutenant Commander Grant," Kesserin began, her harmonic voice creating ripples in her water tank. "The Council's decision today was predictable. Your species has a reputation for methodical approaches to problem-solving." Lisa stood at attention beside the tank while Jake, Amy, and Troy remained near the room's entrance. Dr. Williams had been invited to observe and sat quietly at a side table, her tablet ready to record the conversation. "However," Kesserin continued, "some of us believe that reputations can be misleading. The depth swimmers have observed human behavior for several years now, and we have noticed discrepancies between what humans are supposed to be capable of and what they actually accomplish." Commander Baker stepped forward slightly. "What kind of discrepancies, Admiral?" The water in Kesserin's tank swirled as she moved closer to the transparent wall. "Your diplomatic teams consistently outperform expectations. Your trade negotiations succeed when they should fail. Your exploration missions discover things that our best scouts missed. Either humans are extremely lucky, or they are not what they appear to be." Lisa maintained her neutral expression, but she felt a familiar anticipation building in her chest. This conversation was heading somewhere interesting, and she suspected she knew where. "There is a way to settle this question," Kesserin announced. "Nexus Prime contains the most advanced combat simulation facility in known space. It was designed to test the fastest reflexes and sharpest tactical minds among all galactic species. We use it to identify potential candidates for elite military units." Jake's eyebrows rose slightly. Amy's hand moved closer to her sidearm again, a unconscious reaction to any mention of combat testing. Troy's expression remained carefully blank, but Lisa noticed his shoulders tense. "The current record holder," Kesserin continued, "is Sub-Commander Slicks of the Vrex Dominion. He completed the standard rapid engagement scenario in 2.3 seconds. His performance was considered superhuman by most species standards. What exactly does this test involve? Dr. Williams asked, looking up from her tablet. The simulation chamber contains 16 hostile targets positioned at various distances and angles throughout a standard room-sized space. Each target must be eliminated with precision weapons fire. No area effect weapons are permitted, and no target may be eliminated by collateral damage from attacks on other targets. The goal is to clear the room as quickly as possible while maintaining perfect accuracy. Lisa processed this information quickly. 16 targets, precision required, speed emphasized. It sounded like exactly the kind of challenge that aliens would design to showcase their superior reflexes and reaction times. I assume you want to test a human against this record? Troy said. Indeed. If Lieutenant Commander Grant can complete the scenario faster than Sub-Commander Slicks, the Council will reconsider humanity's military alliance application. If she cannot, humanity will be restricted to support roles for the next 50 years. Lisa smiled. I accept. Jake turned to stare at her. Lisa, maybe we should discuss this first. 2.3 seconds is incredibly fast. We don't even know what the targets look like or how they're positioned. The targets are standard holographic projections of various hostile species, Kesserin explained. They appear armed and aggressive, and they react to the test subject's presence with simulated attack behaviors. The chamber's sensors track every movement and every shot with perfect accuracy. Amy stepped forward. What weapons are provided? Test subjects may use their own personal weapons provided they meet safety specifications. All weapons are automatically set to training mode to prevent damage to the simulation equipment. Lisa nodded. When do we do this? The test can be conducted immediately if you prefer. Sub-Commander Slicks is currently on the station and has agreed to demonstrate his technique first, to ensure fairness in the comparison. Dr. Williams looked concerned. Admiral, may I ask why you're offering this opportunity? The Council seemed quite convinced about human limitations. Kesserin's skin patterns shifted to what Lisa recognized as thoughtful consideration. The depth swimmers survived in our ocean world by learning to see beneath the surface of things. We have observed that humans often succeed by approaching problems differently than other species expect. We are curious to see if this applies to combat situations as well. Troy activated his communicator and stepped aside to speak quietly with someone. Lisa caught fragments of the conversation, but could tell he was reporting to Earth Command. After a few minutes, he returned to the group. Earth Command has no objections to the test, he announced. In fact, they encourage it. Excellent, Kesserin said. The test will be conducted in Combat Simulation Chamber 7. Word has already spread throughout the station about the challenge. I expect we will have many observers. Lisa wasn't surprised. Aliens loved to watch humans fail at things they considered impossible. It confirmed their assumptions about human limitations and made them feel superior. She had seen it happen dozens of times during her career. Who will be observing? Jake asked. Most of the council delegates have expressed interest. General Thokvar particularly wants to witness the demonstration. He has wagered significant credits that no human can break the 4-second barrier, let alone approach Slicks's record. Amy grinned. I hope the general can afford to lose those credits. We shall see, Kesserin replied. The test will begin in 1 hour. That should give you time to prepare and allow the observers to gather. As they prepared to leave the Admiral's quarters, Dr. Williams approached Lisa privately. Are you sure about this? The aliens are expecting you to fail. If you don't meet their expectations, it could damage human credibility for decades. Lisa checked her service weapon and smiled. Kate, the aliens are expecting me to try to beat Slicks at his own game. They think humans are just slower versions of themselves, aren't we? Not exactly. We're something else entirely. The aliens are about to learn the difference. As they walked toward the simulation chambers, Lisa felt the familiar calm that always came before important missions. The aliens thought they understood human capabilities because they had studied human reactions and responses, but they had made a fundamental error in their analysis. They had assumed that human speed was limited by human reflexes. They were about to discover that human speed was actually limited by human imagination. Combat Simulation Chamber 7 was larger than Lisa had expected. The main testing area measured roughly 10 meters by 10 meters, with walls, floor, and ceiling covered in sophisticated holographic projectors. Above the chamber, an observation deck provided perfect views for spectators while keeping them safely separated from the simulation environment. Lisa stood in the preparation area adjacent to the main chamber, reviewing the technical specifications on a portable display. The system used quantum-level targeting sensors that could track objects moving at near-light speed. The holographic targets were generated by military-grade projectors capable of creating solid-seeming illusions that could even provide tactile feedback. Jake examined Lisa's standard-issue pulse rifle, running diagnostic checks on its targeting system and power cell. The weapon was a reliable Earth Defense Corps design, built for accuracy and dependability rather than raw firepower. Its computer-assisted targeting system could help with aim correction, but the weapon's firing rate was limited by its energy cycling time. "Weapon looks good," Jake reported. "Full charge, all systems nominal. The targeting computer is calibrated for standard human reaction speeds." "Turn off the targeting assistance," Lisa said. Jake looked surprised. "Are you sure? The computer can help compensate for the speed disadvantage." "I won't need it." Amy was studying the chamber layout through the observation windows. The room appeared empty now, but she knew that when the simulation began, 16 hostile targets would appear at predetermined locations. Some would be standing, others crouching or prone. Some would be close enough to touch, others positioned at the maximum range of the chamber. "The positioning looks random," Amy observed, "but there's probably a pattern. These aliens love their mathematical precision." Dr. Williams was reviewing her notes on Vrex physiology and combat psychology. "Slick's species sees in a broader light spectrum than humans. They can also process visual information about 30% faster than we can. Their muscle response time is significantly quicker too." "How much quicker?" Lisa asked. "Their muscles can contract and extend about twice as fast as human muscles. It's why they're so confident about this test. By their standards, humans move in slow motion." Commander Baker was speaking quietly with Admiral Kesserin near the observation deck entrance. Lisa couldn't hear their conversation, but she noticed both of them glancing in her direction occasionally. Whatever they were discussing, it involved her performance in the upcoming test. The observation deck began filling with alien spectators. Lisa recognized most of the council delegates from the morning session, along with various military attachés and station personnel. General Thokfer arrived with a group of militant Horde officers, all of them wearing expressions of amused anticipation. Ambassador Zixtal brought several Vrex military specialists, including Sub-Commander Slicks himself. The Vrex record holder was smaller than Lisa had expected, built more like a racing athlete than a warrior. His scaled skin was a darker green than the ambassador's, and his forearms moved with precise, controlled motions that suggested excellent muscle coordination. "Quite a crowd," Jake observed. "They want to see the humans embarrass themselves," Amy replied. "Should be entertaining." Admiral Kesserin activated the chamber's communication system. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings, we will now conduct the combat simulation demonstration. Sub-Commander Slicks will first repeat his record performance to establish the standard. Lieutenant Commander Grant will then attempt her own run." Slicks entered the chamber carrying a sleek Vrex plasma weapon. The device was smaller and lighter than Lisa's pulse rifle, designed for the rapid target acquisition that Vrex combat doctrine emphasized. He took position at the center of the room and signaled his readiness. Simulation beginning in 3, 2, 1, commence. The chamber exploded into activity. 16 holographic enemies appeared instantly throughout the room. Some looked like armored Kreth warriors. Others resembled various hostile species that Galactic Council forces had encountered over the years. Each target carried weapons and immediately began moving and firing simulated shots toward Slicks's position. What happened next was impressive even by human standards. Slicks became a blur of motion, his forearms allowing him to aim and fire while simultaneously reloading and acquiring new targets. His movements were smooth and precise, each shot eliminating a target cleanly before moving to the next threat. The entire engagement lasted exactly 2.3 seconds. When the chamber fell silent, all 16 targets had been eliminated, and Slick stood calmly in the center of the room, his weapon still ready for additional threats that would never come. The observation deck erupted in appreciative sounds from the various species present. Lisa had to admit the performance was genuinely impressive. Slicks had demonstrated the kind of speed and precision that made the Vrex military forces respected throughout the galaxy. "Outstanding demonstration," Admiral Kesserin announced. "Sub-Commander Slicks has matched his previous record exactly. Lieutenant Commander Grant, you may enter the chamber when ready." Lisa stepped into the preparation area and began examining the chamber more carefully. She walked around the perimeter, studying the wall surfaces and checking the angles between different sections. She paid particular attention to the ceiling and floor, noting how the holographic projectors were mounted and positioned. "What are you looking for?" Jake asked. "Details," Lisa replied. She spent several minutes reviewing the chamber's technical specifications again, focusing on the power systems and projection matrix controls. The aliens watching from the observation deck began showing signs of impatience. Several of them were clearly expecting the human to simply walk to the center of the room and begin shooting like Slicks had done. Dr. Williams approached with her tablet. "I've been analyzing Slicks's performance. He used a standard target prioritization system, closest threats first, then working outward in a spiral pattern. Very efficient for his species' visual processing capabilities." "What about the holographic system itself?" Lisa asked. "How does it generate the targets?" "Each projector creates a portion of each target. The system uses overlapping projection fields to create solid-seeming images. The targets are maintained by constant energy feeds from the chamber's main power grid." Lisa nodded and continued her examination. She located the primary power coupling that fed the chamber's holographic systems. It was positioned behind a protective panel in the wall, but the panel had ventilation gaps that allowed access to the coupling itself. "Interesting design choice," she murmured. General Thokvar's voice carried clearly from the observation deck. "Is the human planning to begin sometime today? Or does she need additional time to overcome her natural slowness?" Laughter rippled through the alien observers. Lisa ignored the commentary and finished her preparations. She checked her pulse rifle one final time, ensuring the safety was off and the weapon was set to maximum power output. "I'm ready," she announced. Admiral Kesserin activated the communication system again. "Lieutenant Commander Grant will now attempt the combat simulation. Remember, all 16 targets must be eliminated with precision weapons fire. The timer will begin when the simulation starts." Lisa walked to the center of the chamber, then stopped and moved to a different position. Instead of standing where Slicks had been, she positioned herself with a clear line of sight to the primary power coupling. "Unusual positioning," someone observed from the observation deck. Lisa raised her weapon and took careful aim, not at where the targets would appear but at the power coupling behind the wall panel. Simulation beginning in 3, 2, 1, commence. The 16 holographic targets materialized around Lisa in perfect detail. Armored Kreth warriors raised massive plasma cannons. Sleek Frex soldiers aimed their rapid-fire weapons. A mix of other hostile species appeared at various distances, each one programmed to simulate realistic combat behavior. For a split second, the chamber looked exactly as it had during Slicks's demonstration. Dangerous enemies surrounded the human soldier, weapons trained on her position, ready to fire simulated shots that would register as hits or misses on the chamber's sophisticated tracking systems. Then, Lisa pulled the trigger. Her pulse rifle fired a single shot, not at any of the targets but at the power coupling behind the wall panel. The high-energy beam punched through the ventilation gaps and struck the primary coupling that fed power to the holographic projection system. The result was immediate and spectacular. The power coupling exploded in a shower of sparks and electrical discharge. The controlled electromagnetic pulse that resulted cascaded through the chamber's projection matrix, causing feedback loops and system failures throughout the holographic network. Every projector in the chamber overloaded simultaneously. The 16 targets flickered, distorted, and vanished as their projection matrices collapsed. Secondary explosions rippled through the power grid as circuit breakers failed and backup systems tried unsuccessfully to compensate for the massive system failure. The chamber's automated systems registered the elimination of all 16 targets simultaneously. Total engagement time 0.7 seconds. Silence filled the observation deck. None of the alien spectators moved or spoke. They stared at the now empty chamber where Lisa stood calmly checking her rifle's charge indicator, while sparks continued to fall from the damaged projector systems around her. Admiral Kesserin was the first to break the silence. "System status report," she commanded. The chamber's computer responded in its neutral artificial voice. "All targets eliminated. No rule violations detected. Engagement time 0.7 seconds. New facility record established." General Thokvar leaned forward against the observation deck railing. "That's impossible. She didn't shoot the targets. She shot the chamber itself. The rules specified that all targets must be eliminated with precision weapons fire. Lisa called out from the chamber floor. They didn't specify how the targets had to be eliminated. Commander Baker was smiling openly now. He activated his communicator and spoke to someone, presumably reporting the results to Earth Command. His conversation was brief but animated. Sub-Commander Slick stared at the damaged chamber with all four of his eyes. She destroyed the projection system. The targets were eliminated because they could no longer exist, not because they were shot. The chamber's sensors registered 16 successful target eliminations, Admiral Kessrin pointed out. According to the system, Lieutenant Commander Grant's performance was flawless. Ambassador Zixtal's scaled skin had shifted to a color that Lisa's briefings had taught her indicated confusion and concern. This is not how combat works. You cannot simply eliminate the battlefield itself, can't you? Dr. Williams asked from her position near the observation deck entrance. Human military history includes numerous examples of forces winning battles by changing the fundamental nature of the engagement rather than fighting within expected parameters. Jake was grinning broadly as he joined Lisa in the chamber. Nice shooting. I'm assuming you calculated the feedback cascade before you fired? The holographic system was vulnerable to power coupling failure, Lisa explained. The aliens built it for durability against normal combat stresses, but they didn't account for someone targeting the infrastructure instead of the targets themselves. Amy entered the chamber and examined the damaged power coupling. Clean shot. You hit it exactly where the damage would cause maximum system failure. How did you know it would work? I read the technical specifications while I was preparing. The projection system depends on continuous power feeds to maintain target coherence. Disrupt the power and the targets cease to exist. More aliens had gathered in the observation deck, drawn by news of the unprecedented test result. Lisa could hear them discussing the situation in multiple languages, their translation devices creating a babble of confused commentary. General Thokvar's voice cut through the noise. This proves nothing about human combat capabilities. She cheated by attacking the chamber instead of the enemies. Did she? Commander Baker asked. The test was designed to measure speed and effectiveness in eliminating threats. Lieutenant Commander Grant eliminated all threats in less than a second. That demonstrates both speed and effectiveness. But not in the way the test was intended, Ambassador Zixtal protested. Human soldiers rarely fight in the way their enemies expect, Dr. Williams observed. That's been true throughout our military history. We adapt to circumstances and find solutions that work, regardless of what our opponents think we should do. Admiral Kessrin was studying readouts from the chamber's sensors. The system confirms that no rules were violated. The test specified elimination of targets using precision weapons fire, and that requirement was met. It did not specify which targets could be engaged. The power coupling was not a designated target, General Thokvar argued. Neither were the targets themselves, technically, Lisa pointed out. They were holographic projections created by the chamber's systems. I simply chose to engage the source of the projections rather than the projections themselves. The alien delegates continued their heated discussion while Lisa and her team waited in the chamber. The debate centered on whether her approach constituted a legitimate solution or an exploitation of a technical loophole. Finally, Admiral Kessrin called for order. The test results are clear and unambiguous. All targets were eliminated in 0.7 seconds using precision weapons fire. This represents the fastest time ever recorded in this facility. But the method was unconventional, Ambassador Zixtal insisted. Unconventional methods are still valid methods, Admiral Kessrin replied. The depth swimmers have learned that survival often depends on finding solutions that others overlook. Lieutenant Commander Grant demonstrated exactly this kind of innovative thinking. Sub-Commander Slick spoke for the first time since Lisa's demonstration. I have reviewed the engagement. Her solution was unexpected. I would not have considered targeting the chamber's infrastructure. My training focused on engaging designated targets in sequence. That's the difference, Lisa said. Your training taught you to be faster at doing what everyone expects. Our training teaches us to find better ways to accomplish the mission. General Thokvar was not convinced. In real combat, you cannot simply turn off the enemy's weapons by shooting their power source. Lisa smiled. Can't you? Human forces have won battles by targeting enemy supply lines, communication networks, and command structures. We've disabled entire fleets by attacking their fuel depots and repair facilities. Fighting the infrastructure instead of the frontline forces is a standard human tactic. The observation deck fell quiet as the aliens considered this perspective. Many of them were beginning to realize that they had fundamentally misunderstood how humans approached warfare. The test stands as completed, Admiral Kesserin announced. Lieutenant Commander Grant has established a new facility record. The implications of this result will be discussed by the full council. As Lisa and her team prepared to leave the chamber, she noticed that the alien observers were watching her with new expressions. The casual dismissal and amused condescension had been replaced by thoughtful concern and respectful wariness. They were finally beginning to understand that humans were not simply slower versions of themselves. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 hours after Lisa's demonstration. Word of the test results had spread throughout Nexus Prime, and the main chamber was packed with delegates, military attachés, and observers from dozens of species. The holographic displays that normally showed routine administrative data instead replayed footage of Lisa's 0.7 of a second solution to what had been considered an impossible challenge. Lisa sat in the human delegation area with Jake, Amy, Troy, and Dr. Williams. Admiral Patterson had arrived via emergency transport from Earth, along with General Ross and a team of military analysts. The Earth delegation now included some of the most senior officers in human space, all of them wearing carefully neutral expressions that didn't quite hide their satisfaction. Admiral Kesserin called the session to order. Honored delegates, we are here to discuss the implications of today's combat simulation test. Lieutenant Commander Grant's performance has raised questions about previous assessments of human military capabilities. General Thokvar stood immediately. The human exploited a technical flaw in the testing system. Her result proves nothing about combat effectiveness against real enemies. Does it not? Admiral Patterson rose to address the chamber. General Thokvar raises an interesting point. Let me share some information about human military doctrine that might clarify our approach to warfare. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing Earth's military history over the past century. Battle records, tactical analyses, and strategic assessments filled the air above the assembled delegates. Human forces have a consistent pattern of victory through what other species might consider technical flaws in enemy planning. Admiral Patterson continued. We win battles by attacking supply lines instead of armies. We defeat superior fleets by targeting their fuel sources. We capture fortified positions by finding weaknesses in their defensive systems that the designers never considered. Ambassador Zixtal's scales shifted to concerned blue-green patterns. You are describing asymmetric warfare tactics. We are describing standard human tactics, General Ross added. What you call asymmetric warfare, we call thinking. Dr. Williams stood and requested permission to address the chamber. Honored delegates, my research into alien military psychology has revealed an interesting pattern. Most galactic species approach combat as a direct contest of speed, strength, or firepower. You compete to see who can shoot faster, move quicker, or hit harder. The chamber buzzed with agreement. This description matched how most species understood warfare. Humans evolved differently, Dr. Williams continued. Our ancestors survived not by being the fastest or strongest predators, but by being the smartest. We learned to use tools, manipulate our environment, and solve problems that other species couldn't even recognize as problems. General Thokvar was growing more agitated. Combat is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a test of warrior skill and courage. With respect, General, Lisa stood to address the chamber. Combat is exactly a puzzle to be solved. The goal is to eliminate threats and accomplish missions with minimum casualties and maximum efficiency. How we achieve that goal is less important than whether we achieve it. Sub-Commander Slicks had been quiet during most of the debate, but now he requested permission to speak. I have reviewed the human's technique extensively. Her solution was elegant. She identified the single point of failure that would eliminate all threats simultaneously. In terms of efficiency, her approach was superior to mine. This admission from the previous record holder sent ripples of surprise through the chamber. Slicks was known for his tactical precision and had never before praised another species' combat performance. The Vrek's military doctrine emphasizes speed and accuracy, Slicks continued. But the human demonstrated something more valuable, the ability to redefine the parameters of engagement to favor her own capabilities over those of her enemies, Commander. Baker activated his communicator and received a priority message from Earth Command. After reading it, he requested permission to share new information with the Chamber. Earth Strategic Command has authorized me to declassify certain operational records, he announced. These files document human military operations over the past 20 years that were previously restricted for security reasons. The holographic displays shifted to show detailed records of human conflicts, with pirate fleets, rogue colonies, and hostile alien raiders. In every case, human forces had achieved victory through unconventional approaches that enemy commanders had not anticipated. In the Kepler incident, Baker explained, human forces defeated a superior pirate fleet by hacking their communication systems and feeding them false orders. The pirates spent 3 hours fighting each other while our forces remained safely out of range. During the Titan colony uprising, human peacekeepers ended a siege by convincing the rebels that their own commanders had betrayed them. The rebellion collapsed without a shot being fired. In the Proxima System raid, human patrol ships defeated a Kreth assault force by jamming their navigation systems and leading them into a stellar gravity well. The enemy ships were disabled by tidal forces before they could engage our vessels. General Thokvar's massive frame trembled with frustration. These are not honorable victories. They are tricks and deceptions. They are effective victories, Admiral Patterson replied. Our soldiers returned home alive, our objectives were accomplished, and our enemies were defeated. By human standards, those are the only criteria that matter. Admiral Kesserin had been reviewing data on her personal display throughout the debate. Now she addressed the chamber with new information. The Depth Swimmer military archives contain records of 17 engagements between human forces and other species over the past decade. In every case, human forces achieved their objectives despite being outnumbered, outgunned, or technologically disadvantaged. We attributed these results to luck or poor enemy planning. She paused and looked directly at the human delegation. We now understand that we were observing a consistent pattern of tactical innovation that we failed to recognize. The ethereal representative drifted closer to the chamber floor. The humans fight wars by changing the rules of warfare itself. This is unprecedented in our experience. Not unprecedented, Lisa corrected. Different. Human military doctrine evolved from our need to survive in a hostile environment, using intelligence rather than physical superiority. We learned to win by fighting smarter, not harder. Ambassador Zixtal requested a recess to allow the alien delegates to discuss the new information privately. For 30 minutes, the various species huddled in separate groups, their conversations creating a constant murmur of debate and concern. When the session resumed, Admiral Kesserin spoke for the Alliance leadership. The Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's military alliance application. In light of today's demonstration and the additional information provided, we withdraw our previous rejection. The chamber fell silent. Even the human delegation seemed surprised by the rapid reversal. Furthermore, Kesserin continued, the Council formally requests that human military advisors be assigned to Alliance tactical planning committees. We believe human strategic thinking could provide valuable insights for future operations. General Thokvar stood one final time. This is a mistake. Humans cannot be trusted to follow established military protocols. That, Admiral Patterson said with a slight smile, is exactly why we're so effective. As the session ended and delegates began filing out of the chamber, Jake leaned over to Lisa. So how did you know the power coupling shot would work? Lisa checked her communicator and saw a message from Earth Command marked, Mission Accomplished. She smiled and put the device away. The same way I knew the aliens would underestimate us, she replied. I read the manual they didn't think we'd understand, and I found the one thing they never thought to protect against. Which was someone smart enough to realize that the fastest way to clear a room isn't to shoot everything in it. It's to turn off the lights. The human delegation gathered their equipment and prepared to leave Nexus Prime. Behind them, alien delegates continued their intense discussions about the implications of human military doctrine. For the first time in galactic history, other species were trying to understand how humans thought about warfare. They were finally learning that humans weren't fast killers in the way they understood speed. Humans were something more dangerous. They were fast thinkers who eliminated problems at their source before anyone else even realized the problems existed. The galaxy was about to discover what that really meant.